Blind.
Yes.
Correct. Didn't see the big picture, right? Just saw what's in front of them.
Attitudes, personalities are not matching. That's all.
All right, 6:30.
Please hit the button.
Pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Keep moving the flag. You gotta keep finding it.
I don't say it with me. Welcome, everybody, for joining us. For those of you that are home, this is Tuesday, December 9th, 2025's Community of a Whole meeting. Can I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Dixon? Here. Commissioner Weeding?
Here.
Commissioner Walsh?
Here.
Commissioner Michael?
Here.
Mayor Lyons?
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, first on our Community of a Whole agenda is going to be the approval of minutes. I need a motion to approve the minutes for our last Community of a Whole meeting on Wednesday, November 12th. I have a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. Commissioner Michael?
Yes.
Commissioner Dixon? Yes. Commissioner Weeding?
Yes.
Commissioner Walsh?
Abstain.
Mayor Lyons?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. For first discussion for our community whole is going to be the prevailing wage. Steve, you're up first on that.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Brian Wellner and I worked on this ordinance through the process of looking for bids and so forth on the salt dome and the flat roofs. It come to our attention that we need to update our prevailing wage ordinance. This ordinance requires that all contractors conducting business within the city pay their employees the prevailing wage as established in this ordinance. Prevailing wage rates are determined based on factors such as job classification, skill level, and geographic location. These rates are set forth by the federal and state levels to ensure fair and consistent compensation for laborers. All we're doing is just saying that, hey, anybody that does work in the city has to pay prevailing wage, especially if we're doing work in our TIF district, where we're giving out incentives or using TIF dollars. We need to ensure that they are following the prevailing wage. Each contractor now will have a packet that they will get if they do work with the city that asks for certain things. One of the things that they'll have to do is they have to sign off on a prevailing wage document that Brian created that says that they are paying prevailing wage. If for some reason they are not, it's the Department of Labor's issue, not ours, because we have their sign off and they pretty much certify that they are paying prevailing wage. Now, the Department of Labor may still come back and ask us some questions, but we have this document that gives it the certification they're paying prevailing wage. Brian, is there anything you want to add to that?
Sure, we also included some provisions in there that if for any reason we had any claims filed against us, that they would indemnify us, so they would provide for and or pay for our defense and cover any judgments that would result from it.
I guess my question to this too is if somebody wants to do work and they have maybe had like a, I guess you'd call it like an infraction, can you turn someone down if they've had some issues about paying prevailing wage? Like if they've done work somewhere else and then maybe they had something where they weren't paying prevailing wage because they had a claim against them?
I don't think so, but this is only for contractors that are doing work on public infrastructure. So we would typically be in charge of who is getting that work assigned to, but there will be instances like, for instance, when Durazio is making some public infrastructure improvements like water main and so on and so forth, they would be subject to that prevailing wage too.
Okay.
So short answer, probably not, but in some instances, we would have control over who is doing work, and in those instances, yes.
Okay. All right.
Any questions?
We got any questions? Okay. All right, discussion number 2 is going to be responsible bidder Steve.
Yes, and this is again more of a house cleaning. This amendment updates the city's competitive bidding ordinance, which requires the city to conduct a formal competitive bidding process for any purchases exceeding $25,000. And if you remember that we did a purchasing policy and we upped it up to the state level of $25,000. The ordinance also outlines the procedures for how the bidding process must be conducted. Please note that City Council may waive competitive bidding requirements when authorized by a vote of 2/3 of the commissioners holding office. So if you remember, we rejected the Gaskin Walton bids because they were too high, and we asked you to allow us to negotiate. We had a 2/3 bid, or we had a 2/3 vote that allows us to waive the bids. So this is just kind of updating the ordinance and allows for this procedure to continue throughout. Brian, any additions?
Nothing else to add?
All right, anything you guys want to discuss about responsible bidder? All right, number 3 is going to be our garbage contract, LRS. Sarah?
So yeah, like I've said before, that we had, tried to send out proposals to 6 different garbage companies. We only had 2 come back with LRS and Homewood. So LRS is here. They're gonna talk for a little bit too. They're offering the lowest cost with the increases of 96 cents, $1 and 104 over the next 3-year term. So we are recommending that we award the contract to LRS, which includes our weekly garbage and yard waste and the bi-weekly recycle and the bulk items and the annual spring and fall cleanup as well. So we do have 2 representatives. We have Jordan and Michael. And if they want to come up and speak and give a little presentation on anything, or if any questions from the council as well. Thank you for coming.
Good evening, my name is Mike Malik, I'm the new general manager over LRS in Rockville.
Yep, my name is Jordan Kraber, I'm with the Municipal Services Department for LRS.
LRS is a full-service garbage company like you all already aware of. Me being new to the company, we're truly focused on operations and service, customer service. So we just want to know, biggest thing is I want to introduce myself. Sarah, she has my card. If anybody needs anything from us, we already have our dispatch line, we are our customer service line, we already know our operations manager, our operations supervisor. Feel free to contact me anytime for any questions or anything like that. We'd be more than happy to do anything you can.
Okay.
Were there any questions for us?
No, I think we've had nothing negative about your company since it's been on board.
That's a good thing to hear.
You know, everybody complains when something goes bad. I haven't heard of anything.
Thank you.
Yeah, we get complaints. I've heard several complaints. Yeah.
Well, we had a hydraulic, we had some hydraulic fluid leak a couple times, and we contacted you, Sarah did, and you came out and took care of it, so appreciate that.
There are some small issues, but as long as we have some open communication that we can get these addressed when a citizen complains,
Yes.
we have someone called that can see these through, the complaints through. And that's just the most important thing.
Lines of communication, honestly, that's one of my biggest things where we're actually working on that. We want to make sure we have any kind of hiccups in service. We want to make sure we're upfront about it, and honestly, like we had a service issue this week. We had a truck breakdown late in the day.
Yeah.
Taken care of today. We had already taken care of. So we just want to make sure that we want to be ahead of everything instead of behind.
It was nice because Keith had communicated to me, so then I put up a thing, he gave me the map, and we had it put out to like our Facebook and our webpage, so to get it out to homeowners out there as well.
Awesome. I'm glad the company was there yesterday, so I'm glad everything worked out.
All right, good deal. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this will be at the board meeting in 2 weeks for approval, as long as we get the contract back as amended and some of Brian's comments. So the goal is to get on the council meeting for the 22nd?
23rd.
23rd.
All right.
But I will need it the week before.
So the next agenda is, it's called Dixon's Mobile Home Park Agreement. So I requested, I've met with John Dixon, the owner of the mobile home trailer park. And I requested that the city consultant and city engineer and the council on it, 2006, the agreement was made in 2006 between the city and Mr. Dixon III. Under the agreement, the city is required to provide water meters to 29 trailers located within the development. In return, Mr. Dixon turned over Railroad Street to the city, which was formally dedicated in 2007. So we took the road over in 2007. However, it has been determined that the city's current infrastructure cannot provide sufficient water pressure to accommodate the 29 individual taps. And we'll get the engineer to give a little more detail into this part of it. The city's interpretation of that agreement requires that Mr. Dixon to cover the costs of the infrastructure needed to install the water meters. Guidance from the council is requested on how to proceed. Please see the attached letter from the city engineer for additional details. So I don't know if a lot of you guys had a chance to look through this yet, but we met prior to the meeting with the city engineer. And Sean, you're kind of giving a breakdown to give the council a more in-depth explanation as to what this agreement was and made in 2007.
Correct. Yes, just so one's aware, looking at the agreement does specify that the, exchange for the road right-of-way dedication, I believe it was for Railroad Street, the city would provide 29 service meters basically for the individual trailers. The problem is, the maps had shown a 4-inch water main down Railroad Street, which doesn't exist. So really right now on Railroad Street, there are 2 3/4-inch essentially services that run to a couple of properties further down Railroad Street. We have a similar situation on Elm Street. There is no main that exists on Elm Street. There's essentially a 1-inch line that runs down Elm Street that is used to service a couple of, I think there's 3 houses essentially along that area. Right now, the park is served off of the 8-inch line on Center Street. That 8-inch line, there are essentially 6 taps, meter taps that have already been installed for that. 5 of them for existing trailers along Center Street, and 1 that actually acts as essentially a combination meter, which serves the remaining 20 units that wrap along Elm Street and then back up along Railroad. Again, we have a 1-inch line, so we have a meter right now that goes to a 1-inch line. We can't put additional meters off of that to serve the individual properties because we'll lose additional head, we'll lose pressure for those properties. So at this point in time, there's really no way, without putting a new water main down Elm Street, and technically you'd have to move it back then again along Railroad Street as well, there's no way to provide those meters now to provide individual service for each one of those trails at this point in time. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. So until an actual water main is installed, there's no way really to provide those meters. I mean, right now, I think what's happening is the owner actually takes and, aggregates all of that cost for those other 20 meters themselves from that one. I think the idea is to have individual units paying for their own water service. At this point, there's really nothing we can do at this point to make that happen without a water main. So really, I think at our standpoint is looking at the agreement, it looks like it talks about the city will provide the meters, if the infrastructure's there, but the infrastructure's not there. So that's the crux of the deal at this point. So, and just to expand on what Sean said, we interpret the agreement that the resident, as per our ordinances, is responsible for the service lines from the B-box to the trailer or to the meter. And in addition, because there is no water main, we interpret the agreement that the resident, which would be Mr. Dixon, is responsible for the water main. However, he disagrees with our interpretation. It is about a $500,000 cost to run the water main. There may be some additional costs, give or take, for the tributary lines and put in separate B-boxes for those. The $500,000 is a crude number, but it is a budget number we are working with. And as you are aware, we have a lot of water main replacement priorities, and this is not just a high priority to feed, these they're getting water. It's not that they're not getting water. So they are getting water. This gentleman wants to separate the water bills based on individual meters. And I get what
It's going through one meter for the 27
That is
additional.
correct.
So it's going through one meter.
And he wants to aggregate those to have 26 individual meters, so they have 26 individual water bills, right? So the water's flowing through that one meter, the water
29.
pressure is good,
Yeah, 29 of them.
correct, 29 of them. And so there is good water pressure, there's no water issue, there's no water quality issue, but he is saying, hey, I did vacate the road, and I did dedicate railroad streets. In return, I should receive, according to the agreement, the 29 water meters. And we're saying, yeah, we can give you the 29 water meters, but you can't do anything with them because there is no infrastructure, there is no pressure to make those meters work. And that's where the guidance we're looking from the council is that, is this a priority? Or is this something that we should push back, and when it becomes available to us, is it priority 10? Is it priority 7? Where is the priority at? And then when the dollars become available for us, then we do it, or do we move this up and do it now? Brian can maybe hone in on this a little bit, but again, the way we're interpreting it is that the resident, under our ordinances, is responsible for the feeder lines, the service lines, and for the infrastructure.
I don't see any of that. And it's 14, not 09. It was,
Yeah.
22nd day of July 14th. As I read through this, I don't see there's an end date. I don't see anything about him being responsible for the infrastructure unless I'm missing something. Just
It says that who's responsible is a normal citizen or something in there, it said.
Yeah, so you would pay all associated fees as a normal resident or normal citizen of Braidwood would. And the way we interpret it is that if you're a home builder, or if you're a person that wants a service line, you have to pay for it. The city does not pay for your service line.
Does it say that in this agreement?
It says that he's responsible for all fees that a normal resident would say.
Which would take it back to a different.
But you take it back to the ordinance that says that the resident is responsible for those fees.
But that's not reflected on the contract the city had with Mr. Dixon?
Yeah, it is. So in
Which,
section,
Yeah, what section is it?
we're in section 2.
Where it says Dixon agrees to. The property of the evidence.
Section
I'm sorry,
one.
section 1, my bad.
The last sentence in section 1.
It says Dixon or his leasees will pay normal water and sewer fees as any other residential customer in Braidwood for each individual metered account. And so we interpret that because a resident, if their tributary line, if their service line fails, the city doesn't pay for that. You have to pay for it yourself, and the same thing with a home builder. The home builder doesn't pay, the city doesn't pay for the service line to come to a house. So in our ordinances, it says that that fee, or that responsibility, is that of a normal resident. So that's how we're interpreting this particular agreement.
And just additional clarification, the line above it also states, Dixon agrees to connect the 29 mobile homes to the city water supply. So that's where it gets kind of nebulous.
And the only way that he can connect to our water supply is if he upgrades the pipe.
Right. Well, on Railroad Street and Elm Street, that's part of the 7 miles that are undersized in the city. So that's, if we did the water line, you'd have to do the road on top of it as well, because that water line does run quite a length under that road.
And technically, we probably should loop the line, right? If we should run the line and loop it, we don't like a dead-end system. So that's, we didn't even talk about the cost of looping the line.
These lots are all owned by Mr. Dixon, correct?
Correct.
The whole trailer park.
Yeah.
They're renters.
And they're getting mainly one water bill, so he's trying to separate
He
that,
splits it up.
he wants to split it up, yeah.
He doesn't split it up right now. What he wants is for them to be split up. And the only way to split them up with an actual read is to have those water meters. So he is not wrong. He's entitled to the water meters. There's no question, the agreement is clear. He is entitled to the water meters. It's that he cannot hook up to our water system because it's not vibrant enough and there's no water main to tap off of along his frontage
In between.
of his, correct,
Yes.
right, and
It ends right there on Railroad.
it ends right there.
Our property.
It's not even railroad, is it, it ends,
Elm Street.
Elm Street.
Elm Street Center.
Yeah, it ends right there down. So we would have to put a 6-inch or 8-inch line off of that main in order to give him enough
Thanks.
flow and enough pressure so he can do the individual 29 meters.
This is a 17-year-old deal. Did this come up last council to your knowledge?
Yeah, we discussed it on past administration, and we were all in agreement, it's a legal binding document. You can interpret it how you want, but it's,
Why didn't it get done? If you interpret it differently than what we do, why wasn't the project done?
no, we were in the process towards the end of the administration to give him the meter. You know, that's as far as we took it.
Okay. Any other questions, any other comments in reference to this?
So I guess just from a guidance perspective, the mayor's asking, you know, do you want us to continue saying, you know, we interpret the agreement this way? We'll work out anything we can, but right now it's not a priority to spend $500,000 for this line and potential service lines or even looping the system. Is that a fair statement that it's not a priority right now to do that?
So I guess my question is too, is our list been completed yet of our projects that are the most, I mean,
It's about 75% done?
and that's
Yeah,
what
we're
we need to see
still
where
putting
at
it
least
out, yeah.
comes out on the list of priorities, what we,
In my opinion, all 7 miles of these undersized underground water feeds are all priority. You know, there's 7 miles under.
you know, the public safety is gonna be the top priority, right, where we can't with the,
And based on how many people it affects, right? So if we do one section of line that affects 100 homes,
and this only affects the billing part of it, they're still getting water service.
correct. It has nothing to do with water quality or water quantity. Where we would identify priorities is where are the mains leaking? Where are the mains not providing the right pressure? Where are the mains too small? Those should be the priorities. And then, this again does not fall under that category in my opinion, right? The main is, they're getting water, the water quality is fine, the pressure is fine. We have other priorities where we have 4-inch mains where we're not getting hydrant service or adequate hydrant service. That's not the issue here.
This is basically new construction. I mean, this is putting in new infrastructure.
It's putting in new infrastructure, no question.
But the one thing is, once our study's done, we can go to him and say, hey, this is how the council feels, this is where we're at, you're on project number 5, this is the year projected, at least he'll have an answer. I'm not saying he's gonna be happy, but this has been going on in the city since '07, there's 4 or 5 different city councils. So now we inherited this issue, that we've gotta deal with it. So we've gotta do what's best for the citizens of Braidwood. Right now, they are getting provided water. It's just a billing issue right now, you know, that he wants it divided, you know, individually. Is that a priority? So, but it might be number 4 on our list when we complete this study.
And the other question is, do we have to do it all at once? Can we do it in stages? I don't know. I mean, how many roads? It looks like there's a few,
Well, you probably can put in, you probably don't have to loop it, but you'd have to run, Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, you'd have to run the initial
Yeah,
pipe.
you'd have to run the initial pipe, you'd have to run something, at least, probably Elm Street is where the majority of them are at, so you'd have to run that 500-foot along Elm Street, and you're probably gonna wanna bring something up along the backside, because otherwise you're gonna have the other 8 trailers off of Railroad Street that are not connected. So you'd have to look at how that works, yeah. But at some point, you'd then wanna look that back. Correct.
So just so you're aware, when we're doing our CIP plan, our detailed CIP plan, we are identifying where the hydrants don't work properly, that's our number 1 priority, right? Where the pipe's undersized. And then we're looking at our flow rates on the different hydrants. That's our priority list, that's how we're determining the priority. We're working with George and Sean, and the fire chief, with those particular issues. So those are gonna be the first priorities, because that's real safety issues. And there's low flow, and there's several hydrants that don't work. So we're really focusing on those. Those will be the first priorities. And then we will get to the other priorities once those, but that could be several $1 million, we don't know what that is yet. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, correct.
But once that study is done, I mean, we can just go,
No.
we can say, hey, that you're part of our plan.
Correct.
You're just here.
You're absolutely correct.
So, because obviously the public safety is the most important priority. Any other questions or comments about this topic?
So we're gonna report back to Mr. Dixon that the guidance from the council is that we're gonna continue to do our CIP plan, and wherever you're located in the CIP plan is when we'll be able to get to this project to provide the main. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
Martin, is,
Yeah, I just keep going over this letter and, you know, I guess it's about interpretation. The guy was promised this stuff and now we're saying, well, maybe. I understand we're not saying he can't have the meters, but hey, you gotta wait. I'm just going off the original agreement
sure.
from 14.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for your reports. Okay, next time we have the Parkside Master Plan. So I'll read a little prepared statement and then we'll talk about it, discuss it. If anybody has any questions, obviously we'll talk about it. So as you're aware, the city's working with the Park District on an intergovernmental agreement regarding the donation of all the grocery tax revenue to the Park District for park development and improvements. Okay, during the negotiations, it had become apparent that identifying specific projects was difficult as the Park District does not currently have a comprehensive master plan outlining the future development and needed improvements. Hitchcock Design has provided a proposal to develop this master plan for a total fixed fee of $25,000. The city will be responsible for $20,000 of that, and the Park District will contribute $5,000. The payments will be completed over 2 budget years scheduled for February of '26 and June of '26. The Park District will remit their portion to the 2 installments to the city, and the proposal is attached for the reference. So how this came about is obviously we passed an ordinance that we are going to maintain our grocery tax, but we are going to use those funds to improve our Park District. So when we started talking to the Park District, let's have a plan to do this. That way, as the revenue comes in, we are not hodgepodging things. Let's have a master plan. This is not, when you're a council, it's not just about now, but it's for the future of Braidwood. The decisions that previous city councils have made. So I recommend that we enter into this agreement so we have a long-term plan. It could be a 5-year, it could be a 10-year, it could be a 20-year plan. I envision when I go to communities, they just didn't say, we're gonna do this today. When I go somewhere into a nice town, man, I wish Braidwood had this. These decisions were made for 4, 5, 6, 7 previous councils that had a vision. So we've got to decide what our vision is gonna be and have a plan in place. And this is something that I think that's important to our citizens, and it should be important to us. That we're not just hodgepodging it, that we have a long-term plan. So when we're not on the city council, there's another city council and there's another board, they can say, hey, this is the outline, and the one thing Steve and I talked about too, we have $150,000 in our budget for recreation, so it's in the budget. We can divide the $24,000 over 2 years, that's $12,000 for this plan. And I believe, and I mean this in the nicest, kindest way, but the city has failed on making these plans. When you see a lot of the things that we're trying to fix, this stuff there should have been a plan for years to do this. And we're trying to come up with a plan, and I think this is a great idea. And also this plan will also identify potential. So Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, this just isn't just the park, it's all the parks throughout Braidwood to have this master plan. They're gonna come up and they're gonna interview people being involved, and we'll have this master plan that we can move forward so we know exactly where the funds are gonna go to. It's not gonna be, hey, we're gonna do this year. Let's just see if this works out. Let's have a plan for Braidwood. I think the citizens deserve that.
Is the $150,000 that was allocated for the parks gonna be part of this process?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're not just pulling that somewhere else, yeah.
Documented in this? correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have a budget line item that we're not just gonna take it from another line item or something. We have a line item for it.
Right.
That's a good question.
Would any of that $150,000 be included in something like this, or we just talking?
It would, so if we have money left over the budget and we get this budget plan, and so, and I know we've talked before, but the one thing the citizens want are like a splash pad, or like a nice dog park. So if there's any money left over in the budget, we can say, hey, this is our master plan, let's have a meeting, let's get the meeting of the minds, hey, let's take care of this first, because this is what our citizens wanted. This was important to them. You know, if you want a dog park, you gotta go elsewhere, you gotta leave town. If you want a splash pad, you gotta go somewhere else.
Right.
And these are important, when you guys did your CMAP, when I wasn't, you
Right.
guys did a great job with that, I wasn't on the council.
And that's
There's
what-
there's a plan
I
in
believe
place.
the conversation was to include the park district for the splash.
Yeah,
pad.
and that's what we're doing, we'll get into an intergovernmental agreement
Okay,
with the park district.
yeah, okay.
Steve, did I leave anything on, did I cover most of it?
No, I think you mentioned, but just to clarify, we also, the scope of this service is we also want to identify, is there any park sites the city wants to develop? Right, so just, it's not strictly all park district, it's, you know, is there some, hey, there's a park site over here that maybe the district doesn't walk, it might be a good walking trail,
Right.
or a good trailhead around a detention pond, whatever.
Well, it's common knowledge, the existing parks we have need a little update. report.
And this will address that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that way we have a plan. So, any questions?
I just think it's important to just remember, back then, it was a different environment financially for the city.
Well, I'm not throwing anybody under the
No,
bus, just,
I didn't say you
Oh,
were,
okay.
I just want to remember that the people that were doing the work, including you were chief of police, you had to cut back. You didn't have 20,000 for this and 5,000. So it was, things were really tight back then,
yeah.
you know, and I'm talking about, before I even came in here.
Yeah.
So it's a different environment because of the efforts of people like you
Sure.
and others.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
at a place
We're in a
where we can
position,
do
we're in a
this.
position to do this stuff for our citizens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Yes. So, and Steve, I think we're gonna put something together for the next meeting, right?
Yes, we'll put this on the agenda, the contract on the agenda. And we should have a letter from the park district. They're gonna wait until find out what we were gonna do here before they pass the 5,000, but, speaking with Josh, they gave a verbal agreement to pay the 5. Am I correct, Josh?
So the general consensus.
I should say consensus, yes.
Get the official approval first.
Yeah. All right, and thank you to the park board. Okay,
This will be a next one.
we're gonna move on to the next discussion in our community of a whole, and it's gonna be, building code update. Shelley, you're up.
Hello. Good evening, I'm Shelley Freer, Building Permits Coordinator. I would like to share some of the building code updates that are necessary for the safety of our residents. The last update was in 2009, and we are currently using 2009 codes. Most communities around us are using 2021. We are being proactive, adopting 2024 codes. I would like to introduce Sean Fallows from B&F Construction Code Services. He has assisted the city with the code update.
Hi, Sean Fallows with B&F. We are moving to the 2024 code series. It will give, while it's the slightly newer version, it will actually allow you to have a longer longevity with the code. One of the reasons why we're moving forward is with FEMA and state law. We have to stay on an up-to-date code cycle where you have to stay within 3 versions of the published code. This affects homeowners and FEMA insurance reimbursement rates in case of a large-scale disaster or anything that FEMA gets involved with. So it gives us some peace of mind and stays in compliance with the state law, as well as we get to update and take into account different design trends. So think of open concept floor plans. The building codes better address those. New hazards that are being brought in. There are some local changes. One of the things was we clarified some sprinkler requirements on the commercial and residential side and some electrical requirements. On the commercial sprinkler side, we've put an exemption in and said basically all commercial buildings need a sprinkler system, except very specific buildings that are 1,500 square feet or less. They're single story, they're not used as a dwelling or sleeping unit, not a high hazard group, not used for storage of those, and they don't have a basement. So this would allow for something like a guard shack that traditionally a 0 square foot rule would trigger a sprinkler system. We're saying that's a little overkill. As long as we meet these exceptions, you don't have to put in a sprinkler system in those cases. On the residential side, when we get a very large home, so over 5,500 square feet, we're gonna require them to put in a residential sprinkler system in those very large homes. Otherwise, they are not required to put in a fire sprinkler system. Romex is still being allowed. There's some other clarifications in there, but are there any particular questions about the code update process? Or I can go over and summarize some of the other changes or anything else that you may have questions about.
Steve, you have anything to add here? I mean, you were involved in all these meetings. I was in a couple of them.
So is this something that would just be from this date moving forward?
Yeah, the building codes are not retroactive, so it's
It's a good question.
a project that is already permitted can continue to use it. Basically, the plans that you have approved keep on being valid. Only new projects would have to deal with address it. But a lot of it's like updating of references too. So a good example is every few years, the American Wood Council updates and says, based off our testing, here's how strong the wood is. Let's update all the charts based off of how big you can build, based off of a 2x4 or 2x8. You know, look at old rings versus new growth. That type of thing all gets updated, so they're using the best and brightest information as well.
And this also formally adopts some other building codes, the pool code, and some other codes. Why don't you touch on that for a little bit?
Yeah,
Sean,
so-
codes that we also,
A few of the things that were brought in were being used by reference, so it's a completely valid and legal method of utilizing other standards. So one book references another book, essentially. Unfortunately, one of the things that happens when you do this enough, people start looking down the list and they don't see the book that they're looking for. We're making it very clear that we're expecting somebody to follow a pool safety standard, even though we have the ability to already pull that in certain cases. That would be an example. We've made it clear and made sure that there's nothing on the state level that would make there's any issues with the energy code, the plumbing code, the accessibility code. If they mess with any of those state laws, you don't have a contradiction in your own local code. We're just basically saying, go and follow the state's version of that. We're not making it any more difficult here. We've got enough things to worry about.
we're not more restrictive than the state codes.
Yeah.
So this was about a 6 month, 5-6 month process, thanks to Shelley and Sean and the group from BNF. A lot of information, a lot of page turning, a lot of decision to make sure that we weren't being overprotective, but yet we were still being protective enough. And it has to strike a balance, and I think we did that by still allowing Romex and not being onerous on the sprinkler systems. And I think it's still a very favorable code that will promote building here, but it also provides a more than sufficient amount of safety with respect to building commercial, business, and residential homes.
All right. Anything, you guys have any questions you want to answer? All right, thank you for everybody putting the time in to finish that
Welcome.
boring subject.
Yeah.
I was at a couple of those meetings, I'm like, oh. Let's talk football. So, I guess that concludes our discussion items on the agenda. Again, this is our meeting, it's our working meeting to get things accomplished. So if there's anything now you guys want to bring up to talk about, or we can move on. Anything right now? Okay. Now, this is our time, and our public comment in this segment is toward the end of the meeting. So if anybody has anything public comment pertaining to what we've talked about, and we'll have another one at a regular scheduled meeting, But anybody have any public comment about what we've talked about today, in this topic?
Tony Altieri, 494 West Kennedy. A few of the things you guys gotta consider when you're going up to the 2024 code is that they do include pre-wiring, breakers put in for electric cars, which is a double 30 amp, which is, it gives you 60 amps. If I'm not mistaken, they do a electrical, you have to have it wired for heat, which is a double 50 pole, which puts you up to 160 amp and a 200 amp panel, which makes that panel not big enough, and a lot of towns are having to go to 400 amp panels. In case anybody doesn't understand how that works for the citizen of Braidwood, you go from the cost of $2,500 to $3,000 for a panel, up to about $8,000. Okay, so we have to be within three jumps, so we could go to the 15. If you talk to any building inspector anywhere around, they'll tell you you're smoking something if you jump right to the 2024 code, because it is way too stringent, the costs are excessive, everything you guys are doing is not helping builders or the citizens of Braidwood, such as other reasons of having to have foundations under a garage floor. Now, that adds $15,000-$20,000 onto any home, any garage built. You can ask the engineer if it's a necessity to have a full foundation under a detached garage. It's not. I built hundreds of them over 30 years. Not one of them has an issue going that way. As far as you were talking about the line item for the 150 and our mayor saying that nobody had a plan. Again, that's another lie. We did have a plan. That 150 was in to work with the park, to do a dog park, to do a parking lot, and when the survey went out for a splash pad, it was not a splash pad. That was the last thing in line. People would rather work with the park district and make sure we do that better. Why was the water main not done on Elm Street? Because if you did your research and talked to the engineer who would told you there's a whole project going, they're already doing a water study to take care of it because we were going to do a water plant. And along with the water plant is Elm Street, is 3rd Street, is Bergera Street. If you do your job and ask them, you'd be able to tell you it's already there. And I know you guys had a big deal on infrastructure improvement and safety. Well, if safety's part of it and infrastructure's part of it, you wouldn't be spending away millions of dollars on a park. So apparently that's a lie that you guys care about what the citizens need. People do follow up on what you say.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you'd like a clarification on some of those electrical requirements and building code requirements, there is a state EV mandatory act for new residential construction, and it does require space in this panel. You do not have to wire it at the time. You can put a raceway only. You have to basically prep it for it. Now, that alone, but the stretch energy code is what requires you to plan for dual fuel for like your appliances. So if you went to an electric heat pump, or if you had just a forced air gas-fired furnace, we are not adopting that, so that doesn't trigger that one item. I would say in the majority of house projects that we do, that we are enforcing the EV mandatory requirement of putting that into the calculation. It does not trigger anything beyond a 200 amp service, which is pretty much the go-to for a brand new home, unless you get into a smaller condo or a smaller apartment situation. Now, for the size and foundation requirement, there's a 600 square foot threshold in the IRC. That has not been changed, and that has been in the code for many cycles. So you have to be over 600 square feet is when the code says, hey, you now need to be put a full depth foundation, or you need to go to a specialized concrete design standard for that.
And that's what we have found out, that a lot of garages were given permits improperly,
Yeah, I
and
can
did not
imagine.
follow the code. That was already established.
I believe it. All right, well, thank you for clarification. I appreciate that. All right, any other, okay,
Can you state your name?
sure.
I forget. I mean, is it a yes or a no?
Yes.
Okay. Kim Erling, 180 North Mitchell Street. I have questions on the trailer park infrastructure stuff going on here, and we keep moving it down the line. when Railroad Street backs up to the lot that you're planning on building the community center with your splash pad, blah, blah, blah. We're already short on water pressure on Mitchell Street. It's a new thing. I don't know what's different, what's been happening, but water pressure on Mitchell Street has been going downhill for the last 7 months or so. But Railroad Street, I don't know why this is such a big discussion when you're already gonna have to redo the infrastructure to maintain your community centers.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment this time? All right, thank you. Executive session, do we have anything up on executive session for community hall? All right. Adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn our committee of a whole?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Michael?
Yes.
Commissioner Walsh?
Yes.
Commissioner Dixon?
Yes.
Commissioner Weeding?
Yes.
Mayor Lyons?
Yes.
We have adjourned.
All right, it's about 7:16. We'll start about 7:20, 7:22. We'll give a 5-minute break to get into our regular schedule.